He was an Austrian, and he fell down in about the 5th gate of a World Championships in Vail a long time ago. He fell down, and then he jumped up, and he had the best run of anybody I've ever seen, because he just put it out of it. The rest of his run was unbelievable. And after the run, he was in like 2nd place, going into the 2nd run. And he'd fallen down, he'd fallen over. So he put that mistake away, and then just took maximal chances. Probably skied out of his mind, skied better than he'd ever skied, because he probably put away all the things that mattered. Doesn't matter now. I fell. I can do whatever I want. And it worked out for him. It worked out for him really well.
Rudy Neerlich.
What's that?
Neerlich.
Neerlich. Rudy Neerlich. Yeah. So you withdraw from some things so you can focus your attention on the things that you need to be focused on, right? Okay. Can you do that? You guys have good refocusing? You're able to do that? You have that in your routines? So, talking a little bit about how people learn. This is a famous 3-stage model. Basically, when you learn any kind of an activity, the first thing you do is you get a mental model, you think about it, cognitively process it, figure out what there is in it. This is when your coach teaches you a new skill, or you're talking about refining a skill, or you're making a new kind of a move. You think about it, you model it, you do that, and then what do? Associative. What does that mean? Associate. You go out and practice. You practice and practice and practice. The goal is to make movements automatic, right? Automaticity. Ski coaches blew this for a long time. And I'll just tell you, automaticity does not mean don't think. Don't turn your mind off. That's bullshit. It's not effective. You listen to Bodie Miller or Ted Ligety or Lindsey Vonn give a post-race interview about what happened in that race. They can tell you everything that happened. They're not thinking. They're thinking. They're driving. What automaticity means is you free the mind up. You make movements automatic, so you don't have to consciously direct things like pole plants. You don't have to consciously direct things like you don't have to consciously think about rolling the ski up on edge. You roll the ski up on edge automatically, because what does that do? What does that free you up to think about it?
Line choice.
Line choice, tactics, strategy. You listen to Lindsay talk about a downhill course, she'll tell you where she can take risks. She'll tell you where she has to hit her marks. She'll tell you 2.5 miles, just about exactly what her strategic and tactical approach is going to be. You know, you listen to Michaela talk. Do you guys watch? I'm sure you watch Dartfish TV. Have you seen the Michaela interview where she talks about resetter and poles? Go watch it. That's it. Frankly, that's it in technique and style for technical events. That's all you have to do. Really, come to that balanced position, recenter between each deal, make sure that your upper body is not detracting, it's in balance, that you're using your upper body well, and let your lower body and your feet direct the activity, direct the skiing. It's fantastic. It's 45 seconds, and coaches can retire. Anyway, that's what when we talk about automatic, it's talking about freeing the mind up to deal with other things, so that we're not consciously directing our technical behaviors, that we've internalized those to the point where the movements they just come. So, so you get a course report. Stand on your outside ski. Do you ever just want to turn around and slap the radio? They really need to stand on their outside ski down here. Duh. Jesus. Are you kidding me? Next time somebody says that on a course report, go tell them thanks. I really, really needed that. I needed to know that. If I'd have known that earlier, I'd be in the World Cup.
got banned from a race for cussing out one of my coaches for sitting, for like giving him crap about standing on the outside ski.
It's one of my favorites. I tell you, I used to, mischievous me, I used to go stand in the middle of coach's goal, and I wouldn't push the button down, but I'd give a report, just fake. I go, yeah, it's really important to lean over as much as you can, to incline as hard as you can, and sit back when you come into this turn. And if you can drop your hands, that's going to really be effective off that jump. Because you'd be standing there listening to guys. You really got to drive your hands over this jump because it's 20 meters of air today, and they really have to make a good move. Duh. Really? Don't make a move. Don't make a move, whatever you do. Anyway, that's the mental side of playing the game. Kind of funny. We're not really going to talk about this. I'm going to talk about it on one of these handouts. But, you think, I dwell, this is like the 5th slide on attentional focus, because attentional focus is so important. What you look at, what you think about, how you process it, that's a key skill. So one of the things we talk about is broad, narrow focus and internal, external focus. When you're running slalom, you might be a little bit more internally focused because you're doing movements faster and quicker and directing your skiing a little bit more. You might be a little narrower focused because the field of play isn't as big. But you can think about how this would work. You go from watching TV, a TV screen, where you look at the TV screen, you look at the whole thing, down to looking just one little piece of the screen. That's kind of the broad, narrow. Taking lots of information, taking a little bit of information. That's one of the ways to think about how you process information. So, if you're all good focusers, this is wasted on you. If you're all really have great attentional focus and good skills at being here now. But some of the methodology that you can use this is certainly developing routines. There's nothing wrong with developing habits of focus to get you into your ideal performance state, your right mental state. Being able to check things off your little mental checklist, and for all kinds of things. Being prepared for the day, being prepared for the run. If my inspection, making sure that my inspection was effective. Because let me tell you this, guys. Inspection's your real advantage. Inspection's a lost art. It's a lost art. Then the shorter the turn, the less attention I see people pay. We used to hike up slaloms and inspect going up and memorizing courses. I go to Snowbird every year to the Tech Series, and I stand down there in the timing hut and I watch inspection, and I headphones, no poles, and I'm like, what are they looking at? It's a lot better. There's a lot better snow surface preparation, but there used to be a couple of features, particularly, there's still, we skied in Jackson in the rain last year, and it's different. Things are different. But there used to be a couple little features in even our hills that you needed to look at. There's a little roll right when you come onto the flats, the bottom of the Snowbird Hill. And before tillers and the real attention to tilling and using the winch cat and all that stuff, that roll created a soft spot right under that roll. And some coaches thought that was always the perfect place to put a royal flush, or at least a flush. So they go down there into a pillow of soft snow, and they put a difficult combination in, and people would not pay attention, and they come thundering down there into the flush, and you lose a significant portion of the field in that flesh all the time. It wasn't always a flesh, sometimes it was a hairpin or something, but that was the point, is there was a place there that was different. Same thing over on Park City, the Park City Hill. The fault's flat. Well, faults is right, because it's not flat. And you drop on that flat and you come into that steep section, and somebody always sets some crazy thing coming off of that steep into that next flat. And it's crazy, because there's so many mistakes made right there, and you stand there and you watch inspection, and you look at the course, and you look at the set, and you're like, you look at the snow, and you go, okay, this is going to be a place, let's see who sees it. You stand there and you look at the kids come by, and just slide on by. Guys need to pay attention in inspection. Are all of you speed skiers? Never ski by a coach in the initial inspection. Never. Get the tip. Because you guys are fortunate that you have good enough coaches that they can see that stuff and they inspect together. They go down and inspect together so that there's 5 eyes on the course, and the start coach has the idea about what's going to go on. Never go by a coach. I don't care how good you are. You didn't, in the heyday, you didn't see Darren go by coaches. Darren stopped. Darren asked. Darren looked. And Super G, that's that's most of the event, is inspection. Western Region and Randy Pelkey now with the D team are one of the few teams in the world that's ever trained the event of Super G. You just think you're training Super G. You're training the turn radius. Because the event is one look and one run. And it's such a pain in the ass to set up that nobody's willing to do that. So what happens when you train Super G? What happens? First run.
Everyone goes out.
You go out and you miss some gates. What happens the second run? It's the third run when you make all the gates. Usually the third run you make all the gates fast. And fourth run, and by that time you're shot. I know at Copper, if you can get a 5th run, you're really lucky because of the altitude and things like that. But once you get that thing set up, you want to make maximal turns because you want to make those kind of turns at speed. But that's not the event. Inspection's the event. Half of the event. Think about that. Inspection, lost art. Next time you go to a slalom and you go ho-hum, think about where you can pick up speed in combination. That's the mental side of the game, guys, for sure. Anyway, we talked about the social nature of it. The big 3 why people keep ski racing is enjoyment, getting better and advancing, having friends. So I don't begrudge anybody the friends and teammate thing. That's why we still travel as a region, why we make the effort to travel as a region to big events, is because we think that team building and team interaction is really important. Going back to Scotty, what you were talking about, dreams drive passions, asking why you're here and what you're trying to accomplish. That's always a good thing to do. Goal setting, get to process goals as fast as you can. What's a process goal versus an outcome goal?
How you get somewhere.
Like what you'll actually try to do to get there.
That's what I was trying to say.
What you're gonna do. What you're going to do. Focus on what you're gonna do. When you're in the moment, they talk about performance goals. The difference between a performance goal and an outcome goal is a performance goal is something you control, right? So focus on the things you can control, not the things that somebody else has control over. You might be the best you've ever been. You might have a personal best one day, and somebody might just be a little faster. So if your goal was to win the race, it didn't work out for you. But if you have a goal of doing your best, then that'll work out. What you say to yourself matters, very much so. How you give yourself instructions, how you learn, whether that's positive or negative, that really, really matters. Critical success factors, the instructions you give to yourself and the tone that you give them in. How you say it. Basically, if you tell yourself, I suck, often enough, you will suck. Guaranteed.
Or if like you tell yourself to do something, you're better off than telling yourself to not do something.
Absolutely. The brain doesn't hear the word don't. When you give yourself instructions, tell yourself what to do, not what to avoid. You know, I use the golf shot analogy. Don't hit the water, don't hit the water, splash.